Welcome to my ultimate Tactician Swordsman guide for 2026 in Age of Empires Mobile, where I am gonna go through from Season 1 to Season 7 for free-to-play players and pay-to-win players, all of the information that you're gonna need to run through the different formations in the game, including the Sun Tzu lineups, the Pyrrhus lineups, and even the Ramsey lineups, with everything in between that you're gonna need to know, including the pros and cons for both of the main commanders from Season 1 and Season 3 that you can earn, and even the little cheesy extra specialist builds that you can use, such as Scipio, within the game. So with all of that said, smash a like, comment, and subscribe. Remember to check out the link down in the description and the comment to download Age of Empires Mobile today. And with all of that said, let's dive into the video. So firstly, our two commanders that we need to talk about is Sun Tzu as well as Ramses. Sun Tzu is going to be a Season 1 Advent Wheel hero that you can spin on and earn completely free. It's just going to use your Empire coins that you've earned through events in order to get him. And what makes him a really cool hero is he is irreplaceable from Season 1 all the way up to Season 7, making him a very long-term investment. This is because when we look at Sun Tzu, the hero himself is all about dealing damage through the signature skill. His commander skill, even though you will run him as a commander, is just allowing him to enter the ultimate strategy state a bit sooner for 6 seconds while out there. When we read his signature skill, this is going to be doing it anyway. We enter the charging state for 3 seconds, which is basically a little cooldown we have to wait for. And once we've done that, we are going to do a massive amount of damage and afterward enter the ultimate strategic state. So we can do this anyway on our own, which is really powerful, because when we do, we start doing extra forms of damage on top. So as we can see, Sun Tzu, very strong signature active skill here. And when it comes to his customizable, you're going to be running a skill called Flash of Inspiration in order to get rid of that major weakness of the charging state. So when the signature active skill with a charging state enters that, there's a 70% chance at level 1, not even maxed out here, in order to skip. But when you have this fully booked up, it's 85% chance to skip. So you will notice 9 times out of 10, it feels like this always going off, and you do all of your big burst without needing to wait for that 3 seconds. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because for that 3 seconds, when you are in the charging state, as it kind of explains down at the bottom, you can be interrupted. So if there is a hero with a Everflame Wing which can silence you, or you're against a Queen Syndioc that can also silence you, this can actually interrupt the skill. So being able to skip through this is absolutely huge. Now, we've got Ramses on the other side, and this hero isn't available through the Legendary Advent Wheel. However, he is available through the Mightiest Governor event in Season 3, alongside another hero that you're gonna need to unlock through the Legendary Advent Wheel. Ramses is a little bit different in what he's providing to you in the game. Ramses is all about this signature active skill again, doing damage, but the problem is he is really required to be 5 stars first as a mandatory, and on top of this, his rage skill is what makes Ramses. He's reducing the movement speed of 3 enemies in front of him so he can chase them down, but enters the Holding Blessing state, increasing the strategy by 30 points, so you scale up how much damage and resistance that you have against other strategy users, but you activate an additional signature skill once per second. There's also a 100% chance to nullify all silencing effects for 9 seconds, meaning once this skill goes off, basically for 3 full turn rotations, Ramses is safe to go. And that means his active skill here is doubling up on what it's doing. This is 245% damage, but now it's doubled up. On top of this, you're also recovering 16 rage. This is also doubling up now. So it's a ton of value from Ramses. And it is one of those things that you'll realize that Ramses is only powerful in the open field. If you try him in a rally, he will do okay, since he will be your potentially best match in your arsenal. However, If you compare him to actual dedicated rally marchers, and even comparing him to Sun Tzu and Ramses, Sun Tzu actually comes out on top in rally scenarios. It's really cool to see a legendary advent wheel hero being more rally situated, while this MGE hero is open field orientated. So just remember that, depending on what you want to do, you can go for rallies or you can go for open field, which is really the best way to separate the two. On top of this, when it comes to the tacticians, as you'll notice through the supports we got on screen, Theodora, Charlemagne, and Confucius, no matter what through the seasons of 1, 3, 5, and even 7 now, you're going to get access to some amazing support heroes. That's even including Scipio that you can use in the formation. Even though it sounds a bit weird that this is a warrior swordsman, you're able to actually use the matchless attributes, sacrificing 50% of your formation's attributes for a very powerful bonus. What this is going to do is allow your formation to enter the conquest state. So if you check out Scipio's skill, it's a passive skill, and when you enter the conquest state, you have a chance as the commander, so your Ramses, to activate critical strike rates. This is also activating the chance by 10% and the damage output by 25%. So as you've noticed now, this is even a really cool off meta or off formation support that you can put with Ramses and actually churn out a ton of damage due to the critical strikes with there. So no matter what, when it comes to the tactical swordsman, you are in a safe boat, and even in the later season with the newest hero of Pyrrhus, you're even more secured as well. So you are in a very fine position if you're already invested into him, and if you are looking into investing in this formation, I would highly recommend it. They are very good within the game. So now we've know all of the kind of mini bits and bats that you're gonna need to know about Tactical Swordsman. Let's break down all of the formations, and after we break down the formations, I will go over all of the actual ring choices, including the newest rings that have just come out, as well as adornments and your traits for your mounts and the gear gems for the formations. So the very first season is going to be for the free-to-play players. So all of these next formations is if you're completely free to play that I would recommend running. So you're running Sun Tzu, Cleopatra, Theodora from season 1 all the way up to season 3 when you upgrade your Cleopatra into Charlemagne. The reason why you're running the Cleopatra setup here is a very cool steroid build where you're going to abuse Cleopatra's mesmerization in order to actually create a disadvantage in the enemy, out of the enemy's favor, into yours. On top of this, she also has Crushing Impact, which is another fantastic skill, allowing her to really change the tides of battle. When you check out this skill, if you don't know what it does, don't you worry. The signature skill says after launching an attack through a second strike skill, you're going to do some damage, but you increase your commander's might and strategy. And this is at level 1, it's 91.8. It's a lot of stats that you're going to be able to provide to your Sun Tzu. And when you combine this with the double attack, allowing you to try and trigger this more often, as well as the Crushing Impact now, reducing the enemy's commander might, if you're against, as you've guessed it, Lubus in the future, the other Miyamotos, and especially Cyruses that you're going to be killing anyway, the trades become so much more in your favor until you get that Charlemagne. So honestly, when it comes to Cleopatra, really underrated hero that you can be running. Theodora is the queen of healing in the early seasons. She has the Immortal Army and War Tactic combo just to heal as much as possible. When you notice the Sun Tzu skills, we're running Strategy Master's Gift and Flash of Inspiration. This is just to increase his activation chance, and as I said in the pilot part, in order to skip the charging state. When it comes to the rings, you'll notice the rings are switching between a variety of choices. Sun Tzu can honestly use the Everflame Wing and try to be a more utility-based march, countering other swordsmen that are going to be fighting against him. If you silence them and increase the strategy damage they take, this is a fantastic way to beat matchups that you wouldn't consider beating. For most other players, especially for free-to-players, if you're wanting a more budget friendly ring, I would advise the Ring of the Serpent. This is going to just increase the strategy of your Sun Tzu flat, meaning he's just going to do way more damage out there in the open field. Cleopatra is going to have Lofty Mountain. This is going to be one of the core rings for the Tactical Swordsman, and no matter if you're a free-to-play player, a spender in this game, Lofty Mountain is going to be one ring that you're most likely going to be equipping on 9 times out of 10 on your formations. When it comes to the Theodora rings, we've got the Ring of the Falcon, the Tranquil Water, and the Skyward Knight. All 3 rings are perfectly viable for Sun Tzu for a variety of reasons. Skyward Knight is going to increase your activation chance and increase that activation damage of that Sun Tzu, but it's a 4,000 ring. Tranquil Water is going to give you the maximum amount of damage reduction in conjunction to that Lofty Mountain, and it's a 1.6k ring. When it comes to the Ring of the Falcon, though, you're going to maximize the amount of healing that you're doing, and in addition, get a potential 22% or more damage reduction. So this is a cheap epic ring that you could be using as a substitute. So all of these rings, as you can see on screen, completely free-to-play friendly, depending on what your budget and what your activity level is and how you want to play in the game. Moving on from here, we will now go to Charlemagne, and as you notice now, the rings are basically just shifted. So Theodora is holding that Lofty Mountain, with Charlemagne still keeping hold of the major 3 rings. If you do decide to use Skyward Knight in this formation, I would advise equipping Skyward Knight to the Theodora, since she's not really doing any serious damage out there, and the Lofty Mountain can be equipped to the Charlemagne. When it comes to the skills for Charlemagne, we're going to run Bloodthirst and War Tactic. We are really emphasizing healing on this formation. And that's just because when it comes to Age of Empires Mobile, one of the most important things that you can be doing in the game is healing your troops and using those healed troops again to deal even more damage and to abuse your damage reduction effects that you might already have built up from your gear, from other skills that you've got equipped, and even your rings and adornments. So this is a really important thing to understand, that sustain and healing is a very common meta right now in Age of Empires Mobile. So with that said, we've got Charlemagne in here. All he is going to do for your lineup is use his signature active skill. This is a very powerful support skill that you can use in game to make your Sun Tzu just do way more damage than he should normally do in the game. It is a little bit of an RNG, and this is just because it does have a 29% chance of going off. So this is a big 1 in 3, and technically lower than 1 in 3 in going off. But when it does, it just immediately allows your Sun Tzu to just fire off his skill and to skip even that charging state. So you basically allow your Sun Tzu to fire off more skills, more opportunities, and as you guessed it, even skip the state. So he is really powerful in damage extension compared to that Cleopatra that you was just running, but he is a little bit of an RNG based hero. Moving from here, you will move into the Season 5 and 6 era, where you're going to start to see Zhu Liang on the Legendary Advent Wheel. This is where Sun Tzu and any of the tactical swordsmen that you're going to be running in this formation and in the future starts to go to the next level. Zhu Liang is one of the best supports in the entire game, giving you just so much damage reduction through the Peaceful Haven, as well as recovering troops from his main skill, as well as the activation of his customizable skill. But on top of this, his skill is insane, because as we've kind of established through some of the rings decisions earlier on, you're able to increase your attributes for your main match. Just like Cleopatra is already doing from that mesmerization that we talked about earlier on, you're able to do this through Zook. Zook's going to be able to transfer 15% of his base attributes to your commander, and it's always whatever your main stat of that commander is. So when we go into, for example, that Sun Tzu, and you check out your main attribute, you'll notice the strategy is glowing yellow or gold compared to any other stats. That's because it's his main primary stat, and you'll notice it is the highest base growth stat in the entire game at 1.17. So because of this, your Zhu Liang is going to transfer over now his strategy to that Sun Tzu, making him even more effective than he already is. So Zhuge Liang ZL, what a monster. When you unlock him, you will definitely appreciate this hero. And what happens is with Zhuge Liang in the Sun Tzu build, he's going to be one of the main key pieces no matter what. And even if you're a spender and watching this part of the video, Zhuge is going to be one of the key pieces as well for many of the different formations that you're going to run. To finish it off, you're going to go into the finale season, which is the current season of Season 7 with Confucius. This is going to be a bit difficult for certain players if you're watching this in the current season. However, if you're in Season 2 or Season 3 watching this video, you're going to be able to start saving up, get your speed ups ready and your resources to compete in the Mightiest Governor event for Confucius. You just need to get a top 50 position in order to unlock him, and I will tell you, if you can unlock this hero, it is the best support in the game right now, and especially for your tactical swordsman. What this hero does is provide you, again, insane damage reduction through Peaceful Haven, on top of giving you Spring Breeze, recovers troops for 140%, and reduces the might damage taken by 12% for 3 seconds. This skill has a 50% chance to recover your troops unit an additional 2 times per activation, which is just absolutely crazy. On top of this, you have Disciplined, and at 3 stars this is, you're going to be able to activate the Disciplined effect, which is basically recovering a ton of troops 2 times per second for your formation, and every 16 times this hero triggers a unit recovery effect, so that is through the Disciplined as well as the Spring Breeze here. You're going to trigger immediately the highest strategy commander in the troop, which is obviously going to be your Sun Tzu in this lineup. So this is going to force his skill to go off and then do obviously the damage that you need. On top of this, entering battle, you have a 65% increase in chance on triggering. So from 30 to 95, that's just absolutely bonkers. And each time your troop activates a signature active skill, you increase this chance by 1.5 and you reduce your troop damage taken by 1%. And that goes all the way up to 8% damage reduction. So as you can see, this hero, honestly, is absolutely crazy. And when you do 5-star your Confucius, it's going to give him every 9 triggers instead of the every 18, right? So absolutely crazy. Every 16, should I say. Absolutely crazy, though, as you can see as a commander. So no matter what, if you can get a Confucius, I'm going to tell you to try and get this hero. If you cannot get Confucius, do not worry. Your lineup is basically be running a Sun Tzu, Charlemagne, Zhuge Liang, and you're going to be slapping people out in the open field, as well as even in rally scenarios. So now we've done that, let's talk about one of the more modern day heroes, because there is an option for even free-to-play players and the spenders to both unlock a new hero that's just come out called Pyrrhus. And the thing is, Pyrrhus is a very interesting hero that I have been testing quite a lot with, and I have been using myself recently quite well. The thing is with this build that I am going to suggest, it is Strategy Master's Gift and War Tactic on Pyrrhus. This is exclusively for only open field scenarios, and let me explain why. Pyrrhus does a lot of damage, he really does, but the issue is when it comes to that damage, he needs to out-sustain the enemies in order for it to start ramping up. Every single time you start triggering your trample here, every 2 activations increases your strategy by 30 for 60 seconds. And sometimes this can stack up and do a lot of strategy increase before it all dissipates and does a bunch of damage. On top of this, when it comes to the other skills, Expedition Flanks is really strong in rally scenarios. From all the testing that I have done in the game, from 1v1 open field testing, the Expedition Flanks does not do as much as we need it to do. That's just because it loses out on the bottom clause. During rallies, your signature active skill damage increases by an additional, and this goes up to 10% when it's maxed out. This is a very powerful skill in rally scenarios because you're able to ramp this up and have the bonus 10% on top. However, in open field combat, you only have these extra 2%, so that just doesn't ramp enough within the fight. Because it doesn't ramp up enough, it's just more valuable to honestly deal some damage and try to sustain with some healing, so when you do go for your next trample, you're going to be able to do the most amount of damage. I have had the most success so far with this build. I am still practicing and learning some of the ring combinations that you can do with this formation. However, for Pyrrhus, Charlemagne, Confucius, this is going to allow you to have the maximum, as you've guessed it, activation chance on that Pyrrhus. When it comes to the rings, you can run anything from Everflame Wings, also to the Ring of the Serpent, and even the brand new Swirling Tempest on this formation. Charlemagne can run Lofty Mountain, as well as your Confucius running the Ring of the Falcon, or the Skyward Knight, or even the Tranquil Water, depending on how you want to play. Each of these rings have got a different benefit, which I'm going to explain in the Signet Ring section very shortly. The next setup for this is Confucius and Zhu Liang. And this is one thing that you guys need to understand if you pair both of these supports together. Zhu Liang and Confucius just feels like the best combo right now in the game for survivability and for damage steroid to your swordsman. Because of this, when you try it out with any combination of heroes, that is Sun Tzu, that is Pyrrhus, and even Ramses, this formation just outlives normally what it would used to do, as well as still doing the same amount of damage output as before. So you're getting more survivability, more damage with just 2 heroes. So this is the Pyrrhus setup. Again, for all of the players watching, you're going to be able to get this in the latest season of Season 7 through the Legendary Advent Wheel. Again, Confucius through the Mightiest Governor event, and then Zhu Liang on the good old wheel. When you look at the skills, one tip and trick to finish off on this before we move on is the Confucius and Zhu Liang. You can go for a double Peaceful Haven stack. However, I would just not recommend this. You're gonna naturally have enough damage reduction from all of the other areas in the game that this extra Peaceful Haven is not gonna stack as much as you need it. It's gonna be a loss of efficiency, and it's actually just better to run War Tactic on that Zhu Liang. So just remember this when it comes to this combo. Running Peaceful Haven and War Tactic for Zhu Liang and Confucius is the best way to have these two in the setup. Now, we've gone through all of that. Let's go into the final one, which is the Ramses formation, which you can earn in the Mightiest Governor event in Season 3. And I would recommend, if you're completely a spender in Age of Empires Mobile and you are investing very heavy into your account, you should always aim to unlock Ramses. Ramses has been proven still to be the #1 open field match in the game, especially for the swordsman role. He is able to absolutely decimate people and even go toe-to-toe at times with players that have even invested into King Arthur. This hero is absolutely bonkers. So the first setup, as you probably guessed it, that I'm going to suggest here is going to be your Ramses, Charlemagne, and Zhu Liang. If you don't have Zhu Liang, all you're going to be doing is running that Theodora in that formation slot until you get Zhu Liang. It is that simple. You're going to be running literally this formation right here on screen with Sun Tzu. However, you're going to be guessing it right with the Ramses. It's that easy for that formation. And that's another good thing I will just say with Tactical Swordsmen. They are very flexible, very easy to understand, because as long as you got the 2 supports, your main commander can be any of the 3 that we've talked about today, and it's going to work very efficiently. So with that, we're going to have Ramses, Charlemagne, Zhu Liang. Charlemagne to there, increase the Ramses activation chance again to make him just go absolutely crazy on the damage meter, while Zhu Liang again keeps everyone alive with his Peaceful Haven equipped now, because there is no Confucius online, so he needs to take that role on himself. And then we're going to move on to the next one, which you guessed it, is Ramses, Confucius, and Zhu Liang. This is, again, as I talked about before, the best tanking Ramses build currently in the game. You just take so much damage. It is unreal for this combination. One other combination that you can go for too, which is really popular right now, is the Scipio Africanus. Scipio Africanus with one-man army and Bloodthirst, or you can choose to go for Righteous Judgment, is going to give you a massive amount of damage output. As I explained earlier on, Scipio Africanus is going to give you Conquest state, which is going to allow Ramses to enter this state and do critical strike damage on top of all of his signature active skills and the additional ones that he's triggering from his commander skill being active. This is a very powerhouse combo, and because of Zhu Liang transferring stats to the Ramses, it doesn't mind losing the 50% attributes that you're going to get at a matchless formation ranking. So now we've gone through all of that information, all of the formations. Let me quickly go through a quick summary of all of them. So if you're a free-to-play player and you're looking for all of the transitions, you're going to know exactly what to do. And then we'll move on to all of the nitty-gritty stuff of your rings, of your gems, of your adornments, and the mounts. So with this, let's start off with Season 1, and that's going to be Sun Tzu, Cleopatra, Theodora. You're going to go Strategy Master's Gift, Flash of Inspiration on Sun Tzu with the Ring of the Serpent, or if you want to try and save up for a 4000k ring, you can go for that good old Everflame Wings. Cleopatra is going to run the Crushing Impact and Double Attack with Lofty Mountain, and Theodora is going to use the Immortal Armyy with War Tactic with Skyward Knight as a 4000 ring option, or the Tranquil Water at 1.6k, or if you want to be even more budget friendly, you can go for the Ring of the Falcon, which is an epic ring on the 800 scale. From here, you're going to upgrade your Cleopatra into Charlemagne. This is going to be a massive upgrade for your formation, allowing your Sun Tzu to really ramp up its damage. This is available in Season 3 through the Legendary Advent Wheel for Charlemagne. Moving on now, you're going to be upgrading that Theodora into Zhu Liang. This is going to be in your Season 5 and 6 Legendary Advent Wheel that spins around just like before. Finishing it off, if you're able to save up the speed ups and actually prepare for this, I would recommend, if you're able to do this, is compete in the second or third Mightiest Governor event and unlock Confucius for your Sun Tzu. This is just the best support combo right now for Tactical Swordsmen, so you should try to take advantage of this. Also, in Season 7, if you would like to, you can go for Pyrrhus. He is a legendary Advent Wheel hero that you're going to need to have Confucius with that Charlemagne to maximize output the damage, as well as the same with Confucius and Zhu Liang. If you want to be more of a hard investor and you're spending on your account, I would recommend always unlocking Ramses through the Mightiest Governor event in Season 3, alongside that Charlemagne that you're going to be having in Season 3. Until that time, you're going to be running Theodora in the 3rd slot, but in Season 5, you're going to unlock that Zhu Liang. That's going to be your main formation. From here, you can upgrade that Charlemagne into a Confucius for a more tankier Ramses build that still has very efficient damage output in the open field. If you want a more spicy build and you don't want to work on a Confucius, but you'd rather have another Legendary Advent Wheel, I would recommend Scipio Africanus in this build, because he is an absolute powerhouse and crit machine for all of you. So now we've gone through all of the formations. Hopefully you should understand how each one of these start to upgrade over time. Let's talk about the actual gems and the different types of rings that you're first going to need for your formations. So when it comes to literally every of the commanders, this is your Sun Tzu, this is your Ramses, and even when it comes to Pyrrhus, you're going to use the exact same rings on top of each other. And that's going to be unit health for your main helmet stats. When it comes to your braces, it's going to be hero strategy as high as possible. When it comes to your chest piece, it's going to be your active skill damage. And then when it comes to your boots, as you've guessed it, one of each of the ones that I've just discussed before. When it comes to Confucius, and even when it comes to your Theodora, Zhu Liang, and even in some cases for some people, they haven't done the full nitty-gritty on it, but even in cases of Charlemagne, what you're going to be doing is running unit health again, as you've probably guessed it, hero strategy, and for the chest piece, you can run either hero recovery for all of the 3 heroes, but for Charlemagne exclusively, because he is doing Bloodthirst and War Tactic, you have the option to try active skill damage gems. However, I would not recommend that, because all of those active skill gems you've equipped to Charlemagne, you could have been using to upgrade your mythic level 1s to mythic level 2s, for example, for your Ramses and for your even Sun Tzu. So it's much more beneficial there. So I would recommend for all of the supports, no matter what, if it's a Theodora, Zuliang, and Confucius, as I've talked about in any of the formations today, go for these gems and you're good as golden. Now, when it comes to the rings, as you can see, I have one of the brand new rings, which I do think is actually very strong in here. And it's a very cool place to be right now as a tactical swordsman, because I do believe no matter what, if you have Skyward Knight, you're in a very strong position. You could equip this one ring to Theodora, Confucius, and even that Zuliang in order for them to just heal, 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 and they're not going to lose any damage because they're not dealing any damage. This is going to increase your commander's damage output and the activation chance, which means it's going to give you way more consistency in the march. 9% extra damage and 5% extra activation chance is very big, and when it goes to level 40, it's 7.5 and 12.8. Level 30 to me just feels good enough, even with that extra 5% activation chance, just to get that Sun Tzu going off more often, to get your Ramses going off more often, and even that Pyrrhus to get him going more often again. So very good consistent based ring that you can be definitely running on your support based heroes. On top of this, you can even run stuff like Sage of the Judgment. This is a very good ring as well, in the same slot as any of the rings like the Tranquil Water, Ring of the Falcon, or the Lofty Mountain, and technically Swirling Tempest. All 5 of these rings can be used in the match for different reasons. Lofty Mountain is one of the best rings to increase the main amount of damage for your commander through its main stat here, as well as it increases the damage after 18 seconds while reducing damage for the very first 18 seconds in combat. It's a very good ring in rally scenarios that many people do love to use, but if you're in the open field, for example, you can run stuff like the Everflame Wings or the Ring of the Serpent for your main commander ring. If you don't want to do this and you feel like you just want to try and tank as much damage, you can go for one of the 5 rings that I've just discussed about the defensive options. All of them are very good. If you want to ask me any questions about what rings that you have right now that you want to run on your setup, put it in the comment section down below and I'll happily answer all of your queries when you have them. So now we've got that sorted, let's get into the easy bit, which is your actual mounts and adornments, because we've just recently done this ourselves and there's a bunch of different ones that you can go for. The premium ones, no matter what, for your Charlemagne, for your Confucius, for Theodora, for Zuliang, is going to be Lifesaver with healing armor. This is just going to increase your healing effectiveness, and if you can change this to renewal to increase the individual hero's effectiveness, which is a larger amount, that's even more optimal. All you want to do is try and increase the amount of healing so you can obviously out-heal your opponents, but anytime you do, you get damage reduction on top. So this is just, again, making you as tanky as possible. When it comes to the different adornments, when it comes to Charlemagne especially, I actually really do like Natural Selection. And if you want to equip this to at least one of your supports, which is either going to be Theodora or that Zuliang, for example, you're going to be able to do that as well, because no matter what, you will always want to equip, as you've probably guessed it, for any of the other heroes, a resistance, right? So if I can find my resistance here, you want this one. No matter what, if you run resistance, Natural Selection on one of your supports and the other support, you're going to be golden. This is just because resistance for the first 18 seconds is going to reduce 3 instances of skill damage especially, which is really big on the damage reduction, and it's going to combine with that Natural Selection that's giving you overall damage reduction. So it's a really good way of really mitigating a lot of damage output that your opponent's about to place on you. And then when it comes to Pyrrhus, as well as when it comes to Ramses, as well as Sun Tzu, there is basically 2 main adornments that you could be equipping to these heroes. When it comes to the main one, and this is the one that I do think is actually much easier to unlock and actually does really well is calculation. When the mounted hero activates their signature active skill, you're increasing their strategy. Stacking's up to 3 times, but when it's fully stacked, you also increase your signature active skill damage. As you guys know now, if we're increasing our strategy, yes, it's only a small amount at this low level, but obviously in the high levels, this is going up to 5. So this is 5, 10, 15 points of extra strategy that we've just gained, and 12% extra damage that our active skills are now dealing. It's a lot of damage that we've just gained out of nowhere, and even against other strategy users, we gain some resistance against them. So I do think this is one of the best types of adornments that you can be getting on there. The alternate one that I would recommend for especially Ramses players especially is Starlink. Anytime you do damage, you're going to be doing an additional damage through Starlink. And it's that simple. It is a 1% chance adornment, so if you hit it, you're very lucky. Good for you. But I would use that mainly on Ramses while using calculation for Sun Tzu and Pyrrhus. Now, we've gone through all of the mounts, we've gone through all of the adornments, we've gone through all of the rings, we've gone through all of the gems that you need to know. And as you've guessed it, I've gone through all of the formations for your Tactical Swordsman. Hopefully, I have covered everything that you're going to need to know for these guys from Season 1 to Season 7 with all the information that's hopefully in a bite-sized chunk that you can all digest. And if you do have any questions down below, you're going to be able to ask them away. I know many of you guys are probably going to be waiting to ask me about Maneuver and Theodora. I'm going to be waiting for them, don't you worry, because I've purposely left that out for you guys to ask away. But yes, all questions will be answered at the bottom, so go ahead and answer them. So with all of that said, you know what to do. Smash a like, comment, and subscribe, guys. As well, check out the link in the description to download, obviously, Age of Empires Mobile today. And until the next one, stay safe, guys. Stay sneaky. Peace out.